Hey, we're continuing our conversation about how to manage conflict in order to rebuild trust. Remember, it's not conflict that we're wanting to have, it's the resolution of conflict that we're wanting to achieve. To do this, we've suggested acknowledge God's presence by inviting Him into the situation, asking Him to be with you, to take a spirit of humility. The second thing that we look at today is got the biggest amount of meat on the bone, and that is address any possible issues. Our story picks up in Genesis chapter 21, verses 22 to 34. It says this in verse 23. Abimelech and the captain of his army came to Abraham and said, "Swear to me that you won't do anything underhanded." This is the Message Bible. The ESV says, "that you will not deal falsely with me or my family. For as long as you live here, swear that you'll treat me and my land as well as I've treated you." Abraham said, "I swear it." At the same time, Abraham confronted Abimelech over a matter of a well that Abimelech's servants had taken. Abimelech said, I had no idea this had happened. You never told me about it. This is the first I've heard of it." Let's extract 4 little things from this conversation, and let's tie in a few of what Jesus recommended in Matthew 18. The first one is address any issues one-on-one. Address any issue one-on-one. Number 2, give everyone an opportunity to address issues. Number 3, take responsibility for your part of the problem. And number 4, if needed, bring a trusted friend. Abimelech does all these things. So in Abimelech and Abraham's relationship, and Abraham's growing in spiritual maturity, and Abimelech is being somewhat of his tutor in this situation, Abraham's cooperating. He's learning how to navigate conflict. The first thing is do it one-on-one. Now you might say, wait a second, Pastor, didn't Abimelech bring his commanding officer with him? He did, but remember, this is the second go-around. If we look back at chapter 20, the first time there was a problem, remember the problem? Abraham had dealt underhandedly. Abraham had false witness, saying, she's just my sister, which caused all kinds of problems in Abimelech's household. So Abimelech, on that account, in chapter 20, verse 9, it says that Abimelech called Abraham and said to him, "What have you done to us? What is this thing that you've done? Have I sinned against you?" 2 things there. Abimelech confronts Abraham one-on-one, chapter 20, verse 9. He also assumes responsibility. Have I sinned against you? Wonderful question, right? Have I done something to you that's caused you to do this thing to me? Never assume that you're innocent. Sometimes, I know in my relationships, and I have had more confrontations than I can count, and almost all of them, honestly, truly, almost every one has ended in beautiful reconciliation. But I've learned in the process, when that kind of situation is happening, not to assume that I'm completely innocent, or even just the perception that maybe what I have done. Maybe it's one of ignorance or neglect or just misunderstanding. But take that gracious posture that says, have I done something that's created hurt in our relationship that would cause you now to hurt me? Abimelech did that. Also, make sure all parties have an opportunity to speak about issues. So it says in probably about verse 25, Abraham said to Abimelech, "Hey, there's a matter of a well that your servant stole from me." Abimelech says, "First I've heard about it. You didn't tell me." So make sure that we're all speaking up about any issue that could be contributing to the lack of trust, to the broken relationship, to the conflict at hand. Number 1, address any issues one-on-one. Number 2, make sure everyone has an opportunity to address issues. Number 3, take responsibility for your part of the problem. And number 4, if the person doesn't listen, becomes defensive, gets angry, refuses to cooperate, don't give up. bring a second party with you. Jesus said in Matthew chapter 18, verse 15, he addresses the one-on-one thing. He says, if a fellow believer hurts you, go to him. Work it out between the two of you, not the three of you, not the four of you. Work it out between the two of you, one-on-one. If he listens, you've gained a friend. Then in verse 16, he says, if they won't listen, bring one or two others along so that in the presence of witnesses, you can keep things honest and try again. I love that last little phrase. And try again. You know what most of us do? We try once, throw up our hands and say, I tried, and walk away, leaving the injury still in place, leaving the broken trust still present. Jesus said, and try again, and again, and again. It's in this same context where Peter kind of comes back and says, how many times should I forgive my brother if he injures against me? And Jesus says 70 times 7. Jesus would say, and again, and again. Work to rebuild, restore, and reestablish trust. Because when you do, you've won a friend. When you do, you have restored community. Lord Jesus, most of us need the admonition to try again. Lord, move in our hearts today. Help us to see if there's a relationship somewhere out there where we need to try again. We ask for your strength. We ask for your grace. Lord, grant us humility in which alone is rest, and deliver us from pride, which is the heaviest of burdens, and help us address any issue that needs addressing. I'll see you tomorrow.